We know that to create a really incredible and immersive ride or attraction at a theme park, it takes a huge budget. But how big? Well, in this two-part series, we're going to be answering this question when we take a look at the most expensive theme park rides and attractions, Part 1. Fastpass facts. Number 10.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, and I am proud to join all the animals and characters in welcoming you to Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Expedition Everest is one of the world's most visually gorgeous roller coasters. When Animal Kingdom opened back in 1998, it was perhaps the most ambitious Disney park to date. But the only thing missing from this beautifully themed park was iconic rides. So it was no surprise that Disney decided to use such a huge budget for one of the park's main attractions. Expedition Everest opened on April 7, 2006. The ride is designed around a 200 feet tall mountain, known as the Forbidden Mountain. The story of this ride is themed around the Yeti and his quest to protect the Forbidden Mountain that sits next to Mount Everest. Now, the track alone of this coaster would have cost around $20 million. It is 4,424 feet long and includes a tricky reversing part that makes the ride seem much more out of control than it really is. Usually, a roller coaster's budget is mainly used on the track, but for Expedition Everest, this is hardly the case. What took up most of the budget was the incredible theming around the ride. Along with the massive mountain facade, there is a treasure-filled temple, a monastery, a Yeti museum, and the expedition cabins. And most importantly, the huge Yeti animatronic, which was, at the time, the most advanced animatronic Disney had ever created. The Yeti is 25 feet tall and weighs 10 tons. We all know by now that only after a year of operation, it stopped working 100% and has been in B mode since then. But before that, it was a thing of wonders. Overall, the total budget for this ride ended up being $100 million. That means that nowadays, it probably would have cost around $138 million. Actually, Expedition Everest was listed in the 2011 edition of Guinness World Records as the most expensive roller coaster in the world. In the next video, we'll talk about the ride that took this record from Expedition Everest. Number 9. Islands of Adventure, Universal Florida's second park, debuted in 1999, and unlike the catastrophic debut of Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure opened with excellent reviews by guests and the press alike. The park opened with 6 themed islands, 2 massive steel roller coasters, 3 of the world's top water rides, and some incredible performances and shows. But one of the rides that opened with the park was a whole new concept. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man turns guests into last-minute reporters for the Daily Bugle. After boarding a vehicle known as the Scoop, they learn that the sinister syndicate has captured the Statue of Liberty with an anti-gravity gun, and it is up to Spider-Man to defeat them and save the guests. Passengers go on a flat track in a car that can tilt in all 4 dimensions, slide in all 4 directions on its chassis, and spin 360 degrees in a hybrid simulator and roving dark ride. You interact with giant 3D screens that are so large that you feel as though you are actually inside them. The screens blend in flawlessly with the physical environment. For example, Hobgoblin tosses a pumpkin bomb at a nearby building, and as it explodes, a genuine jet of fire bursts out of the building. This is probably one of our favorite rides in the whole world, and with a price tag of a little over $100 million, it is also one of the most expensive. Nowadays, it would have cost about $167 million.
Humans, you are in grave danger. The Decepticons have taken over. We need your help.
11 years later, Universal presented a new version of the same ride technology with upgraded effects. This new ride was Transformers The Ride 3D, which opened on December 3, 2011 at Universal Studios Singapore. In this ride, the battle between the Autobots and the Decepticons has come to Earth, and you've been recruited by the Non-Biological Extraterrestrial Species Treaty, or NEST, to help defend humanity and the Allspark from Megatron. The ride features higher resolution HD 3D and has 2 levels. There are 2 vertical lifts, one up and one down, but the experience is so immersive that it's impossible to discern when the movement is simulated and when it's genuine. The budget for this ride was also over $100 million and was recreated at Universal Studios Hollywood, Florida, and Beijing. Number 8.
Acrophobia, fear of falling from great heights. Hydrophobia, fear of water. Carnophobia, fear of being eaten alive. Face your fears. Jurassic Park, the ride. Only at Universal Studios Hollywood.
The development of what many people still consider Universal Studios Hollywood's flagship ride started very early before the movie was even in production. Gary Goddard and his team read the book and were allowed to read the movie's script to be able to get inspired and come up with some ideas for the ride. In the beginning, Universal thought that they would develop a Jeep ride, just as it was in the book and in the movie script. But of course, at the time, it would have been impossible to create a sequence where the T-Rex would have been able to chase the Jeep or tear through the trees and jungles. So Goddard came up with the idea of using a scene from the book, where the kids escaped the dinosaurs by going through a boat ride that had not yet opened. With this idea, they could create their own story that would be in the tone of the Spielberg movies, but also add its own surprises. And as a plus, it would be a great idea to add a great boat ride with a huge splash zone that would make it highly popular with everyone. This idea was pitched to Steven Spielberg, who thought it was fantastic and greenlit the ride. The ride is still one of the guests' favorites. The whole experience, story, animatronics, and of course the drop at the end make it such a great attraction. For a long time, the massive final drop held the record for the greatest drop on a water ride.
I'm very squeamish about fast rides. I'm not even sure I'm going to go down this 83-foot drop. You know, I'm not quite sure if I could. I've never been down an 83-foot drop before in my life. So I might just have them let me off before the drop occurs.
And it is still one of the most thrilling water rides available. The original cost of this attraction was $110 million, which is about $195 million today.
Really spectacular, spared no expense.
As many of us know, Jurassic Park the ride closed in Universal Studios Hollywood and became Jurassic World the ride. The ride opened on July 12, 2019, and while it was a huge success from the beginning with its new scenes like a new tank where we can find the Mosasaurus, there was something missing. When it first opened, the final scene showed the T-Rex like we used to see, but now it was accompanied by the Indominus Rex. While the animatronic was very impressive, it was not a full-body animatronic, and guests were expecting a little more from the refurb. But all of our dreams came true when Universal reopened after being closed because of the pandemic. Many of the problem scenes were upgraded, and new animatronics were added. Among these was one of the most impressive animatronics to ever exist in Universal Studios. Where we used to see the Indominus Rex's head, we can find a full-size dinosaur. The fully articulated figure spans nearly 55 feet horizontally from head to tail and over 22 feet vertically, and features lifelike movements like blinking eyes, flexing arms and claws, and clenching jaws as she bares her teeth and lunges at guests. We can only imagine how much this new animatronic cost. Number 7. When the Wizarding World of Harry Potter made its debut in 2010, it revolutionized theme parks by launching an era of living lands, creating entirely immersive areas plucked from physical places seen on screen. The land opened at Universal's Islands of Adventure and is a reproduction of Hogsmeade, complete with the Hog's Head, 3 broomsticks, and Ollivander's wand shop. The iconic Dueling Dragons roller coaster was renamed Dragon Challenge in honor of the 4th book in the Harry Potter series, Goblet of Fire. The total cost of this land was $200 million, but most of its budget went into the land's main attraction, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. This ride cost a total of $131 million, which would be about $167 million today. The main idea for this ride was to create a unique attraction using the highest technology available at the time. And with its exciting use of cutting-edge technology and fast-paced storytelling, it was an instant success with Potter fans and regular guests alike. The ride takes place within the iconic Hogwarts castle, looming high on a rocky outcropping over the snowy village of Hogsmeade. It has dark ride elements, motion simulator movements, projections, animatronics, and uses a modern robotic arm system that is attached to a bench to generate the feeling that guests are flying. The technological component of the journey is both fascinating and costly. The seats are installed on top of a KUKA robot arm, the type that wields vehicles together on assembly lines and then mounted on a wheelbase. As a result, the seats may swivel in almost any direction and even flip riders upside down while the track remains flat. The ride also has incredible animatronics and environments that make you feel like you're living your Hogwarts dream. You get to go through a tour of Hogwarts, a Quidditch match, and encounters with dragons, enormous spiders, Dementors, and even the Whomping Willow. Honestly, the scene with the Dementors is bone-chilling, and the encounter with Hagrid's dragon is awe-inspiring. We can definitely see why this ride costs so much. Number 6.
What dark secrets lie beyond its doors? In the dusty hallways, the empty rooms? You'll soon know, for we're all about to enter the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror.
When Tony Baxter was designing Disneyland Paris, he came up with Discovery Mountain. There were many ideas floating around about which rides would be in this land, and one of these was Geyser Mountain. This attraction was a free-fall ride where guests were supposed to be blown up to the top of the building, just like in Journey to the Center of the Earth, when they escape the center of the Earth through a volcano chimney and have a brief look outside to the park before falling down again. Sadly, none of this came to life, but thankfully, the ride's plans were picked up by Hollywood Studios. Some changes were made to the ride, and that's how the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror came to life. This ride is based on the fantastic Twilight Zone show, because Imagineers thought that the ride was perfect for taking guests into the 5th dimension that Serling always described as unlocking in every episode of the series.
Rod Serling every week said he unlocked the door to another dimension, to the 5th dimension. So we thought, we'll take you there. This is something he couldn't do.
With the project in firm development, Disney licensed the rights to use the Twilight Zone intellectual property from CBS. The ride depicts the events of a stormy night in Hollywood 1939, where a lightning bolt strikes the tower and causes 5 people, a celebrity couple, a child star, her nanny, and a hotel bellhop, to vanish from the elevator, along with an entire wing of the building. Fast forward to the present day, and we're visiting the hotel, and are about to step into a maintenance service elevator to become the stars of our own episode of The Twilight Zone. To create this ride, a new system had to be built, which would allow both more capacity inside the ride and make the drop fast. The ride system employs specialized technology developed by Walt Disney Imagineering, particularly the ability to move the vehicle in and out of the vertical motion shaft. The elevator cabs are self-propelled automatic guided vehicles, which can lock into separate vertical motion cabs. The cabs can move into and out of the elevators horizontally, move through the 5th dimension scene, and onto the drop shaft. All in all, the ride ended up costing $140 million back in 1994, which would be about $263 million today. The ride was replicated at California Adventure in 2004 and at Disneyland Paris in 2007. But we'll be talking about that particular ride in the next video. Were you surprised by the price tags of these attractions? Which attractions do you think we'll talk about in the next video? Let us know in the comments. And again, don't forget to click on the bell to be notified when part 2 is uploaded. All of these attractions are amazing, and you can experience them if you start planning your next magical vacation. Our friends at PixieVacations.com will help you plan your perfect vacation to Disneyland, Disney World, or Universal Studios, specifically tailored to your vacation style and budget. And working with a Pixie is completely free. So talk to them to make the best out of your Disney vacation.